You may not know what a clerkship is, but it's a very important position. Judges at all levels hire law students, usually right out of law school, to clerk for 1 year and let you work in chambers with the judge. Among the various jobs that law students can get, clerkships are among the most prestigious. In some regards, a clerkship is even better than a law firm job. Usually it's a 1 year job, and it helps you go to a law firm eventually if that's what you want to do. But these are very important jobs. On Thursday at, make sure I get the right time, 12:15, the courts, the college is holding a panel on clerkships. And we have two of our most distinguished alums who are actually judges who will be talking about the process. The first is Justice Eva Guzman, who's on the Texas Supreme Court. And the second is Judge Reed O'Connor, who's a federal judge in Fort Worth. They both graduated at South Texas in 1989, and that's kind of cool. Two people from the same class are both prominent judges. So maybe two people from your section will be prominent judges. That'd be cool. I hope so. Come back and say hi. Make sure you volunteer and do good things for your fellow students. But I encourage you to attend that session if you can. All right. That plug is over. Anything else in your mind before we get started? Any questions? All right. Yes, Rita, go ahead. I'm sorry, I said Rita. Rita, go ahead.
I don't think we discussed this last class, but the book talked about something called a filius nullius, like a child of no one, or like a child born out of wedlock.
Yeah.
So is it still the case that the child only gets from the mother unless the father is proved?
It's funny. Does everyone know what wedlock even means? I sent a note to the editor of the casebook saying that students may not know what wedlock is. Wedlock is when a couple has children outside of marriage. It's not really a thing anymore because we don't care anymore, right? But there was a time where that was a huge deal, where a couple had child out of wedlock. It was considered a bastard child or an illegitimate child. You probably heard these phrases before. And at common law, an illegitimate child could not inherit property. They were the child of no one. What was that Latin phrase? I always forget it. Something nullus. What was it again? Say it again.
Filius.
Yeah, Filius nullus, basically the child of no one. Phil means child, null means no one. And they couldn't inherit property. Thankfully, in all 50 states, that's no longer the rule, so I would not worry about it. Right now, a child of unmarried parents can inherit property just the same as a child of married parents. Those rules are all gone. So that's my short answer to your question. Make sense for you? All right. Alexander, go ahead. Oh, you're not in the classroom today.
Yeah, I am. Sorry.
That's okay. You don't have to be anywhere.
For that one though, it's specifically the mother, right? Because that's proven, and then it's only the
right. This is like the Maury-Povich syndrome, right? You always know who the mom is, you don't know who the dad is, right? Because it sounds obvious, but the child comes out of the mother, so you know who the mom is, but who is the father, right? And then you need to go on the Maury-Povich show to figure out the rest. I'm being facetious. The Maury-Povich show is a very entertaining daytime TV show where they do these DNA tests to figure out who the father is, where often women aren't sure who the dad is because there might be multiple possible suitors who they had relations with. So they figure out who the dad is. And there's one episode I remember where the Maury goes, "You are not the father." And this guy does a backflip, a standing backflip. He's so happy. Oh, God, that poor child. Scarred for life. All right. Thanks, Alexander. I appreciate it. If you ever go to Manhattan, or at least we used to, they would have a bus that would take you from Midtown Manhattan up to, I think it was Stamford, Connecticut, where they filmed the Maury show, and that's that's all the magic happens. All right, today's gonna be jam packed. We're gonna have a lot to cover. Let me review a little bit. As I'm sure you all know, I've been uploading case summaries so far this semester, and I encourage you to read these after class. They should help fill in gaps in your notes. But I've also uploaded what I'm calling a topic summary for today. It's not complete yet. I'll be adding another one later. But I've already uploaded one on present interests. Specifically, the life estate, and the fee simple. And you can see it here. I encourage you to read this carefully. I'm going to put another one online later, hopefully later this week, on the life estate. I'm sorry, on the remainder and reversion. So this is just the present interest. We'll do future interest later. But I think these will be very helpful for you. So let's review. So far, we've studied two kinds of present interests. We have the life estate and the fee simple. A life estate is a present interest that lasts the duration of a person's life. Right? So if a person lives to the age of 99, they get to keep Blackacre until they're 99. But a person who has a life estate cannot control what happens after their death. They can sell it during their life, but after their death, they can't control it. They can't leave it to their heirs, for example. A fee simple is different. With a fee simple, you have a present interest, but you can't control what happens after you die. If I give someone a fee simple, they can keep it, they can sell it, or they can die with it, whatever they want to do, right? But they can control what happens after their death. So these are two types of present interest, the life estate and the fee simple. We've also discussed two different types of future interests. Now, we don't discuss the future interest that comes after a fee simple. Why? Because when a person has a fee simple, they can decide where it goes. We don't have to worry about these sort of concepts. But when you have a life estate, there are two different kinds of future interest that can follow life estate. You can have a remainder, and you can have a reversion. You can have a remainder, and you can have reversion. And I want to go through a number of questions to tease out the difference between a remainder and a reversion. Okay? Yeah, I see your hands up. Yeah, if you raise your hand on Zoom, I can see it, but it's harder because I don't have a good view of the class. But yeah, go ahead. It's whoever's hand that is. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, what's your question? You keep your mask on. That's fine. I can't hear you.
Hello?
Okay, there you go. There you go. Yep. Okay. Yeah, there you go.
Can you give a future interest for a certain period of time to one person, a certain period of time to another person?
Yes, we'll get there in about 15 minutes. I promise. If you want to look at question 1C on the class notes, we'll get there. But I'm not there quite yet. So let's start, my friends, with question 1A, what I'm calling 1A. All right. Short answer. From O to A for life, period. What interest does O have?
Is this all right?
Good. Okay. What interest does O have? Not A. A couple of you giving me A. O. What interest does O have? All right. Whoever's next, please raise your hand. All right, Miranda, I'll give you another 5 seconds. I'm going to get your answers quicker. I'm stopping it here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, Miranda. What's your answer?
I said it was reversion and fee simple.
Okay, so let's go one step at a time. At the beginning of this transaction, what does O have? Before O does anything, what does O have?
O has fee simple.
Okay, how do you know that?
He has the present and future interests.
That's right, but how do you know that?
Because he owns it or he's giving it to someone.
Yeah, it's a trick question. We don't know that. We presume, you're correct. I think someone asked this question last, it was Grayson. We presume that O has a fee simple. We don't know that. Nothing tells us that. For at least this point in the semester, I'm asking you to just presume it, that O has a fee simple. Later in the semester, it gets messy, and it may not be the case. Maybe he's lying, maybe he's fraud, right? But for now, we presume. Okay, so you said O has a fee simple. He has a future and present interest. What does O do then, Miranda?
He gives the present interest to A.
Okay, stop right there, right? So he has a fee simple. He has a full bundle of sticks. He gives a present interest to A. What do we call that present interest, Miranda?
A life estate.
Very good. But what happens after A's death?
It reverts back.
Don't say reverts. Remember I told you? Don't say reverts. There's something called a reverter. We'll do it later this semester. Don't say reverts. Just trust me on this one. What happens after A's death?
It goes back to the grantor.
Goes back to the grantor. What do you call the future interest after a life estate that goes back to the grantor?
A reversion.
Okay, very good. For your notes, a reversion is a future interest that follows a life estate that goes back to the grantor. Now, you said reversion and fee simple. How do you know it's reversion and fee simple?
Because O gave A the present interest, and then the future interest goes back to the grantor.
Good.
When A dies, the present interest goes back as well.
So he has a full bundle of six, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good. So, sorry, I'm going to sneeze. Thank you very much, Miranda. Excellent. So the answer here is that A has a life estate, but O has a reversion in fee simple. How do you know it's in fee simple? O started with a full bundle of sticks. He gave one stick to A. At A's death, he gets a stick back. He has his full bundle again. A has a fee simple. A reversion is almost always going to be fee simple. I said almost always. There might be some weird cases where it's not, but like 99%. You have reversion and fee simple. Now, 37% of you put reversion fee simple. That's correct. About 20% put reversion. That's not wrong, but that's like a B answer. If you want to give me the A answer, it's reversion and fee simple. Okay? Now, a couple of you put fee simple. That's wrong. O does not have a fee simple. O has no present interest. O only has a future interest. So it's reversion in fee simple. That's what we're saying. He currently has reversion. And when A dies, it'll be a fee simple. Reversion in fee simple. When we put reversion in life estate, that's not correct. Someone asked us last week, it's theoretically possible to have reversion life estate, but you're never going to see it. So that's not right. Someone put remainder in life estate. It's not a remainder for reasons we'll explain in a couple of minutes. Okay? And someone put reversion in life estate. That's not correct. All right, Catherine, your hand's up.
I just had a question about the difference, and feel free to stop me if we're going to address this later, but I was watching your classes from last spring at the same time, and it talks about the possibility of reversion.
We're not there yet.
Well, okay. I'll just wait then.
I promise you. We will do.
About the condition.
Oh, please, not yet. We'll do that either on Wednesday or on Friday. By the way, everyone knows makeup class Friday starting at 10:30. Same Zoom, same everything else. So I think Catherine will answer your question. I don't think on Wednesday, but I think I'll answer on Friday if my memory serves. You're going to hate me so much, right? You have reversion and you have possibility of reverter. Students confuse them, right? So you have remainder, reversion, possibility of reverter, R-E, right? It will just make your head hurt. So that's why I yelled at poor Miranda saying, don't say reverts. I'm sorry, Miranda, I didn't mean to be mean. But if you say reverts, you'll think of possibility reverter, and then you'll go to Catherine's question. So I'm sorry to yell at you. I didn't like doing it, but I have to correct terminology. All right, everyone get 1A. Question number 1A. All righty. Okay, let's do question 1B. Question 1B. Question 1B says, from O to A for life, then to B and his heirs. What interest does B have? And this is for Alex in about 30 seconds. I got a new chair, Tim. I'm still trying to feel it out. It's one of these gaming chairs, which is pros and cons, but it's pretty comfy. I like it. See, as a head back goes all the way up, this way so you can sort of just lean back. All right. The other chair was squeaking too much. It was bad for Zoom. Who am I up to? Yeah, Alex, go ahead. Alex, what's your answer here?
Yeah, I put a remainder in fee simple.
Okay, let's go one step at a time. All right, Alex? So first, from O to A, what does A start off with?
A life estate.
No, okay. A has a life estate. Very good. What follows a life estate when the future interest goes to a third party?
A remainder.
Okay, very good. So A is a life estate, B has a remainder. How do you know that it's remainder in fee simple?
Because he has a future interest in the life estate, or after the life estate. So he has the present and future interest later.
Okay, but how do you know B's interest is a remainder in fee simple? What tells you that?
Because he doesn't have a present interest.
You're right, but what tells you it's a remainder? We know it's a remainder, but it doesn't have to be a remainder.
Theirs.
There it is. Okay, very good. All right, so O started off with a fee simple. He chopped up his bundle. He gave a life estate to A, and he gave a future interest to B. The future interest that follows the life estate is a remainder, and it says then to B and his heirs. B and his heirs have a fee simple in the future. So B has a remainder in fee simple. Excellent. Thank you very much, Alex. Everyone see that? Actually, you guys did really well on that one. You got almost 90% right on this one. One of you put remainder in life estate, which is not correct. That's actually the answer to another question we'll do later in class. But this is remainder in fee simple. You know it's a remainder in remainder in fee simple because it says and his heirs. So A has a present interest life estate. B has a future interest, remainder in fee simple. Okay, any questions on that one? All right, this is actually going pretty well. All right, question 1C. Let's see what you guys do here. And this will be for, I think, Rachel, who I think's in the classroom. All right, question 1C. From O to A for life, comma, then to B for life. What interest does O have? What interest does O have? I'm not asking about A, I'm not asking about B, I'm asking about O. What interest does O have? You guys are doing surprisingly well, and also there's no variations in spelling, so I hope that people aren't sharing answers. Usually people have typos and stuff, and there are no typos here. So if you guys are sharing answers, it's a really bad idea. You're cheating yourselves. I'll never know because no one will ever tell me unless someone tells me. But there are way too many people getting this one correct with no variations in spelling. All right, maybe you're all really smart. Okay. Rachel, you there?
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's break this down one at a time. O starts off with a fee simple. What does he give A?
A life estate.
Okay, good. What does O give B?
O gives B a remainder in life estate.
How do you know it's a remainder in life estate?
Because once B dies, it goes back to O.
No. Not that's correct. That's not the answer to my question. How do you know it's a remainder in life estate? To B.
Because it doesn't go to B's heirs.
No. So it says from Ode for life, comma, then. What does the comma then tell you? What's that a hint for?
That it's a remainder
Remainder for who?
for B,
Okay. So what's the present interest here?
the life estate.
Okay. The present interest is life estate. What's the future interest for B?
The remainder in life estate.
Okay. How do you know B has remainder in life estate? It's a very simple question. You're avoiding the question.
Because once A dies, then B gets it for life.
What's the definition of remainder I gave you earlier?
Remainder, the future interest after a life estate that goes to a third party.
Okay. So what do we have here?
A future interest after A's life estate
That goes to
goes to a third party.
who's the third party here?
Future interest B.
That's right. So try it again. Why does B have a remainder here?
Because the future interest goes to B
After.
after A passes
Thank
away.
you. Thank you very much. Okay, very good, Rachel. Okay.
Thank you.
So B has a future interest. It's a remainder because it follows a life estate and it goes to a third party. Okay, thank you so much, Rachel. Jeanette, you here? Grace, I'll get you in a second, I promise.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Jeanette, let me ask you a question, please. Hold on, there's feedback. Okay. I'm hearing some bad feedback, Jeanette.
Oh, for me?
Yeah. Do you have headset?
Do
you have headsets
I
in?
don't have a headset. No.
All right, then we'll have to deal with it.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. We know we have a remainder here. Rachel said B has a remainder in fee simple. I'm sorry, remainder in life estate. How do you know it's a remainder in life estate?
Because it's an interest that follows the life estate of A to a third party, which is B.
Well, that tells you it's a remainder. But how do you know it's a
Right.
remainder in life estate?
Because it's B for life.
For life.
So, yeah,
What if it said B and his heirs?
it'll be a fee simple, so remainder in fee simple because of his
Good.
heirs.
So look at 1B and 1C, right? 1B said to B and his heirs, and 1C said then to B for life. What's the difference between 1B and 1C?
So on B, you had a remainder in fee simple.
Good.
On B, you have a remainder in a life estate.
Okay. What's the difference? Because after B dies, all right. Why does this make a difference? In 1C, what happens after B dies?
Then O would have a reversion.
In 1B, does O have any interest?
No, because it's a fee simple. He doesn't have any sticks anymore.
Exactly. Okay, perfect, Jeanette. Thank you so much. And Grace, I promise I'll get you in a minute. I see you patiently waiting. In 1B, B has remainder in fee simple. O has no more sticks in the bundle. Upon B's death, it goes to B's heirs. Or B can sell it, but B has a fee simple. Okay? With the remainder, the grantor has no interest. But in 1C, the grantor keeps a stick for himself. He gives a present interest stick to A, it's a life estate. He gives a future interest stick to B, that's remainder. But it's not a remainder in fee simple. It's a remainder in life estate. There's another estate lurking. There's another future interest, and Jeanette said it. O has a reversion in fee simple, which 90% of you got this one right. Again, spelled exactly the same with no spelling deviation, which makes you suspicious, but maybe you're all perfect. You are. It's really not for your advantage to have group chats. I know you think you're helping yourself, you're not. Because at the end of the semester, I check, see how you guys are doing. Because, wow, you're getting all these questions right. I don't need to do more time for review. And then you're just cheating yourselves. O as reversion, fee simple. Let me explain why. After B's death, the property has to go somewhere. When you have a remainder in life estate, and then you have a life estate later, you cannot control the land after a death, right? With a life estate, you cannot control the land after a death. With a fee simple, you can. So the property's got to go back somewhere, and it goes back to O. Do not say it reverts to O, or else I'll yell at you, because that's like a reverter. Don't say that. It goes back to O. So O maintains a reversion in fee simple, because it goes back to O with the full bundle of sticks. So O has reversion in fee simple. All right, Grayson, you've been waiting for a very long time. I'm sorry to keep you waiting, but I want to finish that question first.
Yeah, no worries. Just so I understand, this all came from O. It's not like O gave anything to B. This was all from O's merit. It's like O said, I'm going to give it to A for life and then to B for life. It wasn't A that was like, okay, I'm going to give it to B after, because he didn't have
That's correct.
Okay, good. I just wanted to clarify.
Now, if A has a life estate, can he sell his interest to B?
Yes, but for the remaining for A's life.
What do you call that? What's that French phrase we discussed last week?
It's called a.
What do you call it when A gives something for the life of when B has something for the life of A?
Entre V, life estate.
That's it. Yeah. Life estate for entre V. When B has an interest measured by A's life. Okay. Make sense? All right. Questions in 1A, B, or C? Yeah, what used to happen in the past is people would watch my lectures from the previous years and they would know the answer to the poll questions. That's why I'll start changing things around. People get it wrong. It's really not to your advantage. You should try and do these clean without cheating. All right. I'm on this committee now where we're looking at, exams. And I know you had, some of you may have had the exam monitoring software. And what's fascinating is we have this sort of AI that determines if a person's cheating. And the AI is actually more accurate than real life proctors. So the school employs proctors who routinely miss cheating. They just miss it. The proctors are human, and humans have only 2 eyeballs, and they can't look at a classroom of 70 people and actually discern cheating. So the AI is actually more accurate. It's remarkable. It truly does work better. My exam is hard to cheat on because it's a brand new fact pattern with a lot of issue spotting. And if you're actually taking the time to cheat, you're going to have time. So I actually don't care. All my exams are open book. Do whatever you want. Bring whatever you want. I don't care. I won't help you. And because it's all essay, I'll know if you're cheating very quickly. So I think the short answer is the way to write exams for the Zoom age is just write an exam that you can't cheat on. But that doesn't work multiple choice. It does. You can, what they do is they randomly sort the, ABC changes for everyone. So there are ways of getting around it, but you can't stop cheating, so just you make it hard to cheat. All right. What else? Everyone get ABC 1, A, B, and C? All right, we'll move on. All right. I want to do the hypothetical on page 260 in your book. But I simplified it a bit. So let's just walk through this one step at a time. And I'll do a screen share so you can see it, so we can all look at the same document. So we're discussing here the topic of inheritance. Now, in our class, people will die without wills. If you have a will, that's wonderful, but it's very easy because you've told people what you want to happen. So in our course, people will die without wills. Or they'll die with an incomplete will. or a will that's ambiguous, or a will that you don't know what it means, right? We will not have in this class a will that's perfect, because will that's perfect never goes to court. The reason why you go to court is that you have a will that's either incomplete or maybe a person doesn't have a will at all. So here we have a situation. Okay, so we have Oscar. By the way, O, Oscar. All right, it's always O. Start off with. Oscar has 2 children, Alice and Ben, A and B, just to make things nice and easy. Alice has a son named Adam. So that's 1 grandchild for Oscar. Ben marries Wendy, W, wife, right? Wendy. Ben and Wendy have 3 kids. Betty, Bill, and Barbara, all B's, make it easy. We learn that Ben dies with a will and leaves all of his property to his wife, Wendy. Then we learn that Oscar dies without a will. At the time of Oscar's death, he has $600. I am giving you very easy numbers to make this easy. Even if you hate math, this should be straightforward. All right. I have 7 questions for you. 7. Let's go through all of them. All right. So question number 2. I'm looking for a number. How much does Ben inherit? How much does Ben inherit? And this will be for, I think, Sebastian's next. Hmm. All right. 5 more seconds, and then Sebastian's up. Are you in the classroom, Sebastian, I think? Thank you.
I'm at home today.
Oh, you're home today. Okay, that's fine. All right. What is your answer, sir?
I put 300
Okay. Why'd you put 300?
because they would be split between his 2 heirs, which are his 2 kids, right? No,
Is Ben alive?
no, but his goes to Wendy
What?
because he gave her all of his interest.
Wait a minute. Ben died, right?
Right.
He left all of her property at the time of his death, right?
Right.
When did the father die?
After Ben?
Did Ben have that inheritance upon his death?
No.
No. Does the wife get anything?
No.
So what does Ben get?
0.
Okay, so you actually just answered question 2, and I want to just stay on question 2 for a minute, right? Ben's dead, right? The answer here is 0. About a third of you got tripped up, wrote 300. That's not correct. Yeah, you're nodding, I see. The answer here is 0. Dead people cannot inherit property. Dead people cannot inherit property. Ben inherits nothing. Yes, Giovanni, you're in the classroom, I think? Yeah, go ahead.
How the facts were given, how would we assume that Ben died before Oscar?
I'm telling you, right? Look at the bullets. Bullet number 4, Ben dies with a will. Bullet number 5, Oscar dies without a will. I'm giving you the sequence.
Okay, so that's the order.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
I'm giving you the exact sequence of events. But good question. Right? When I give you the ordering of these events, that's the sequence. Ben dies, and then Oscar dies. In this class, unfortunately, everyone dies without a will. It's very violent, but that's sort of how things go. Okay. Let's do question number 3, which Sebastian sort of got at, but we'll try it again. How much does Wendy inherit? And this will be for, I think, Sydney. All right, Sydney, you there?
Yes.
Okay. How much does Wendy, the wife of Ben, inherit here?
0 from Oscar
Why is the answer 0?
because they're not blood related.
That's exactly right. When you're dealing with intestacy, right, this funny word, like intestate is a person who dies without a will. Intestacy is the laws that govern intestate succession, right? So when you have intestacy, only blood relatives take. Only blood relatives inherit. Now, generally, a person's wife, Wendy, is not related by blood. I suppose if you marry a close relative, they would take as the cousin or niece or nephew. But in this case, Wendy's not related by blood. She takes 0. Now, Sebastian said a minute ago, wait a minute, didn't Wendy inherit all of Ben's property? Yes. But she inherited the property he had at the time of Ben's death. Ben had not yet inherited his father's estate, so Wendy has no claim to the estate. Wendy gets 0. Okay. Good. Thank you, Sydney. Questions on number 3? All right. Let's try number 4. How much does Alice inherit? All right. This is going to be for Luis. You, Luis?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Luis. All right. Let me stop the poll. What'd you put here?
Put 600.
Okay, why'd you put 600?
I put 600 because Oscar has 2 children, Alice and Ben, but Ben died, which is why he got 0 in the first question. So therefore, by default, Alice gets all of it.
All right, let me ask you a question, right? Let's say that Ben was still alive, right? Both kids were still alive. How much would Alice get and how much would Ben get?
300 apiece, split it evenly.
Okay, that's right. But you think that when Ben dies, Alice then gets the full share?
I would assume so, unless there's like other relatives that have a claim to it.
And who might those other relatives be, my friend?
The grandchildren.
Oh, the grandchildren. There it is. Poor grandchildren. So I'll try again. How much does Alice get here?
Okay, so I have to split it between.
Just focus on Alice here. I don't care about the grandkids yet. We'll get to the grandkids in a minute. How much does Alice get? You said a minute ago that if both Alice and Ben were alive, Alice would get 300.
Right.
Does that change if Ben dies?
No.
No, it does not change. It stays the same. What's Alex's claim here? How much is Alex? Alice gets 300. I think it said Alex. I'm sorry. Alice gets 300. That's right. Thanks, Elise. When you have 2 kids, each kid gets half. Right? Oscar has no spouse, so each kid takes half. All right? It doesn't matter that Ben dies, the brother dies. Alice's share stays at $300. Her share doesn't change. Yes, Grayson.
So
don't ask about the grandkids yet. I'll get to the grandkids in a minute.
Oh, okay.
I know you're going. I'll get there in a minute. I'm not there yet. Jeanette, go ahead.
That's only if Ben dies after O, correct? After Oscar, right? That then the grant will consider the grandchildren.
Correct. If Ben died, if Ben was still alive, then he would take $300, and his sister takes $300, and that's easy. That's right.
But Oscar needs to die first, right? In order for Ben to even have that $600 inheritance, and then Ben dies, so then we consider the grandchildren.
Well, again, Ben's dead, so if Ben dies first, he can't inherit anything. The only way for Ben to inherit is for him to outlive his father. Good. Thanks, Jeanette. Alexander.
Wait, just to clarify, because like either I misinterpreted or O will die, and because Ben is dead, it skips over and goes.
We didn't go to the grandkid. We didn't do that yet.
Right. But
I don't want to do it yet. Just not yet. Not yet. I promise. We'll get there. I'm deliberately not doing the grandkids yet. All right. So everyone understand. If Ben was still alive, he would get 300 and his sister gets 300. Everyone agree with me? Good. All right, let's do question 5. We'll do the first grandchild, Adam. Adam is the son of Alice. How much does Adam take? How much does Adam take? This will be for Lance. All right. Lance, what's your answer? I see you.
0. 300 potentially when the woman does.
Don't say the woman. Just use names here because there are a lot of people.
Remember, it was Alice.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. You gotta get used to names. Just saying the woman's not very helpful, but okay. Thank you. So you said Adam gets 0. So why does Adam not get anything?
Because Alice hasn't died yet.
His mom's still alive. But what happens if the mom were to die? How much would Adam get?
300.
He would get the mom's shares. Excellent. See how this works, right? You go down the bloodline. If the person's alive, they get it. But if the person's dead, you go down the bloodline further. And in this case, Alice has one child, Adam. Were Alice to die, the $300 would go to what's his face? To Adam. Most of you got this one right. So far, so good. Alyssa, go ahead.
That's only assuming that Alice has a will when she dies, right?
Doesn't matter.
She
Well,
doesn't have a will.
yeah. In our example, no one has wills. Everyone dies intestate. That's right. But yeah, good point. All right, very good. Thank you, Lance, and thank you, Alyssa. All right, let's try question number 6. This is going to be for Susan in about 30 seconds. How much does Betty inherit? And again, Betty is the child of Ben and Wendy, the oldest child of Ben and Wendy. Okay. All right. Susan, are you here?
I am.
Okay, Susan. How much does Betty get?
She gets $100.
How do you know that?
Because Ben, if he were alive, would have gotten $300, and since he has 3 kids, it's divided by 3, so she gets 100.
Okay, very good. Just hang tight for 1 second, Susan. Okay, there's something called per Stirpes. P-E-R-S-T-I-R-P-E-S, per Stirpes. This is a phrase in the law that means by the line, right? By the stripe, if you will. Ben would have had $300. Ben is dead. Therefore, you chop his inheritance up based on his number of children. In this case, he has 3 kids, Betty, Bill, and Barbara. So 300 divided by 3 is 100. So Betty is 100. Susan, how much does Bill get, the second son?
100.
And how much does Barbara inherit?
100.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Susan. So Betty is 100, Bill is 100, and Barbara has 100. All right. Betty, Bill, and Barbara each get 100. And this is called per Stirpes. So again, let's, Grace, I'll get you in a second. Let's summarize. In this question, Alice gets 300, which is her half. And the half that was going to Bill, the house that was going to Ben is split up 3 ways. 300 divided by 3 is 100 each. Betty is 100. Bill is 100. Barbara is 100. Stated differently, Alice gets a half. Ben would have had 1/2. We divide 1/2 by 3. I know you hate math, but we can do it. What's 1/2 divided by 3? 1/6, 1/6, and 1/6. A sixth of 100 is 100. I'm sorry, 1/6 of 600 is 100. So 100, 100, 100. It's easier with the numbers and the fractions. I know students don't like fractions, but that's how it is. Okay. Grayson, yes, I know your hand was up.
I understand the concept of Stirpes, but do we need like a hard definition? I don't really have like a.
It's this, right? It's you go down the blood. There's no good definition. You have to understand how it works. That's why I'm giving you that example, right? But you go down the bloodline. If a person's dead, you figure out who their kids are, and then you divide it up. But the important point for you to remember is Ben is dead. He gets nothing. The wife is not related by blood. She gets nothing. Adam, the grandson, gets nothing because his mom's still alive. And Ben's 3 children take it per Stirpes, a third, a third, and a third. Or a sixth, a sixth, and a sixth of the total, if you want to look at it that way. There's math in this class. I'm sorry. I know law students hate math. You went to law school because you didn't want to go to med school because you don't like math. I know. I get it. I've heard it a million times. But there will be math in the exam, so unfortunately. You won't need a calculator. I'll give you very easy numbers. What's 600 divided by 6? If you can't do that, you're in trouble, right? If you can't take half of 600, then you're in serious trouble. But I try to use very simple numbers. I don't think you'll need a. I've never had someone ask for a calculator in an exam. I never thought of it, but I don't think you would need one. Catherine, go ahead.
I have another question that you may tell me to just say no more.
Yes.
But what if Ben had no kids and they lived in a community property state?
Oh God, not now.
Will we learn about that in this class?
Well, the short answer is inheritances are not considered community property. So if Ben were to die, if Ben were to have died, the marriage is over, right? And whatever property Ben would have inherited after the marriage is not community property anymore. So the short answer is it wouldn't go to Ben. It would go to Ben's other nieces, nephews, collateral. You have to sort of just keep going out to find someone. No, it wouldn't go to the sister's line. I mean, well, the sister might take some of it, but also you go out. So nieces and nephews and stuff. Because the sister already got her cut. Yes, a good question. But we will cover community property the last month or so of this class. Questions number 8 or 6, 7, or 8. All right. Again, if this topic isn't making sense, go back and rewatch the video. It gets a lot worse on Wednesday, and it gets even worse on Friday. Trust me on this one, right? This is going to seem easy compared to what comes next, right? Oh, yeah, the remainder reversion, a piece of freaking cake, right? It gets worse. So if this isn't making sense, work your butt off today and tomorrow. I deliberately gave you no new pages today, so there was no new reading today. This was just for review. That was very deliberate, but you need to get this topic. Alyssa, go ahead.
Okay, I'm not even sure I fully understand my question, but what if one of the 3, Betty, Bill, or Barbara, what if one of them dies?
Okay.
Without children? Does Ben's, what would have been Ben's 300, does that get split between?
No, wouldn't that be easy if they got half? No. The bloodline of let's just say Betty dies, make it easier, right? Betty's the first child. Let's say Betty dies with a child. Then Betty's share would go to Betty's child. Right, that's the easier one. If Betty dies without a child, then Betty's share would go through the intestacy statutes to Betty's other collateral. So you have to figure out who are the other collateral, which could be nieces or nephews. You find someone. But it's not the case that the other 2 kids get 150 each. That would not happen.
Okay.
You figure out who Betty's heirs would be. Everyone has heirs.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
No, it's a good question. But again, let me just repeat Alyssa's question. Adalis, see your hands up in a minute. Let's say that Betty dies with a child. The child would take the $100. It just goes right down the line per Stirpes. If Betty dies without a child, it's messy because you don't know who the heir is going to be. But you find someone. It's not the case that the two remaining kids, Bill and Barbara, get $150 each. That's not going to be the case. All right, Dallas, I think you're in the classroom, if I remember correctly. Okay, go ahead.
So I was getting stumped with the Ben dies with a will and leaves all of his property to his wife Wendy. Is the only reason why she isn't getting some of it because Ben died before?
Yes, exactly. This was Javon's question a few minutes ago, right? It's sequential. First, Ben died, and he left whatever property he had at that time to his wife. But he had not yet inherited the father's property because Oscar was still alive. So first Ben died, then Oscar died.
So then if Ben would have died after Oscar.
Easy. Yep, the wife would have gotten the $300.
Okay, so she would have gotten 50%, and then the other 50% of that 300 would have then been split.
Well, just be careful. If Oscar died and Ben was still alive, Ben would get the $300.
Yes.
Right. But if Oscar dies, Ben inherits the money, and then Ben dies, the wife would then get the $300. The kids would get nothing.
Oh, okay. But so then when the wife dies, when Wendy dies, that's when you do the 300.
No. If again, I'm changing the question, right? Oscar dies, Ben gets $300. His kids get nothing. If the very next day Ben dies, pursuant to the will, the wife will get all of Ben's property, including the $300.
Oh, okay. So then it's up to the wife what she does with the money?
She gives it to the kids or not. That's her call.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, that's too easy, though. That's simple. I wanted to do the harder one. Right, where Ben dies first. All right, guys. How are we doing? We just did almost 60 minutes on just basically 4 questions. I'm telling you, this is not an easy topic. If you're struggling, that's okay, but I encourage you to rewatch this lecture. It's very important to get this stuff right. All righty. Questions on these poll questions, which we spent a lot of time on, more than an hour. About 50 minutes.
Pastor, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Who's speaking?
Michael Davis.
Yeah, just if you want to speak in the lab, just raise your virtual hand. That way I know someone's speaking. Yeah, go ahead.
Similar line of questions to the last one, but if Oscar dies and then Ben dies, but Ben dies without a will, then
well,
1/3.
Yeah. So if Ben dies without a will, the wife takes either a half or a third. Usually, if there's no kids, the wife can take half. If there are kids, the wife takes a third, and then they chop up with the rest of the kids. I don't want to go into that much depth because that gets very messy, right? The rules vary about how you chop up with the wife and kids. In the question I gave you very deliberately, Oscar had no spouse. So that made it easier. But you're right.
So if Wendy and Bill only had one child, then the inheritance when Ben dies without a will would be split between Wendy and that one child, correct?
Well, it's not just Wendy and the child. It might be other relatives as well. In other words, when there's a wife, the math gets very funky, and I'm deliberately avoiding that question.
Okay, I was just looking at the second paragraph.
No, you're exactly right, but I'm deliberately not doing that topic because it gets messy.
Okay.
I feel bad, but sometimes I tell people don't worry about it, and I'm not trying to do a cop out, but there's some issues that are more complicated than they're worth, and it's I have enough I want to try and get into your heads that I have to sort of just brush some stuff aside. But yes, Alexander, go ahead.
So going off of that, can we expect a similar fact pattern to this where like spouses might not be included for the exam?
Yeah, that's fair game, like what I have over here.
Thank you.
Yeah, Yeah, just the issue when there's a spouse and kids for inheritance, it gets messy. And someone, I think it was Catherine, asked about community property earlier. It gets even messier. So I'm deliberately not doing it right now, but maybe we'll get to a little later. All right, I have 20 minutes left. We have 2 cases. So I encourage you to go to the case summaries after class and read them, because I am not going to have enough time to go into them as much depth as I like. But I think the case summaries are pretty thorough. So let's start with White v. Brown. And let's look at the will. Let me just share my screen for a minute. Quinny, I think you're up next, right? I think you're in the classroom, if memory serves. You there?
I'm online today.
Okay, you're online today. Okay, people all around the place. Okay. So Quinny, let me ask you a question. Let's look at this will, right? I put the 4 sentences on the screen. So this is Jessie Lead, who prepared a holographic will, which just means she wrote it in her own hand. And she had 4 sentences. So the first says, I appoint my niece Sandra White Perry to the executrix of my estate. An executrix is a female executor, right? So it's awful, but a dominator and a dominatrix, the trix suffix means female. Okay. Then, Quinny, we have this sentence. It says, I wish Evelyn White, who is her sister-in-law, I wish Evelyn White to have my home to live in and not to be sold. Then it says, I also leave my personal property to Sandra White Perry. And she repeats, my house is not to be sold. Now, Quinny, pretend you're not a law student, right? Just say you're a random person on the street, right? You come across this document, and I ask you, what did Miss Jessie Lyde intend here? What was her intent? Just not as a lawyer, but just as a random person. What would you say?
What would I say? Like what Jessie did with her property?
What was her intent?
So just based off these 4 sentences, it would be that like Evelyn White can live in the home, but she doesn't have power to sell the house. She can only like live in it. And then her niece would get her personal property.
What does it mean to have the house but to live in it? What would that mean after Evelyn dies? What happens to the property? What do you think her intent was?
So from that, it just looks like she gave Evelyn a life estate.
No, but we're just a random person. We don't know what life estate is. You know what life estate was 2 weeks ago, right? So just if you were a random person in the street reading this, right? Not a lawyer, a random person in the street reading this. What do you think Evelyn wanted to happen? I'm sorry. What do you think Jessie wanted to happen after Evelyn died? Because eventually she's going to die, right? Everyone dies. No one lives forever.
Right. Well, she can't sell it, so it'd probably just go to her heirs.
Whose heirs?
Jessie's heirs.
Jessie's heirs or Evelyn's heirs?
Jessie's, because it doesn't seem like she gave, or like from face value, it doesn't seem like she allowed Evelyn to do anything with the property in the future.
Okay, so now, Quinny, you're now a first-year law student. Congratulations. Welcome back to law school, right? What do you think Evelyn intended from a legal perspective? How would you describe her intent?
I feel like she gave Evelyn just a life estate.
Do you think this is ambiguous? Or do you think this is really clear?
It's probably ambiguous because it can be argued that she might have been given fee simple, or she might have given Evelyn fee simple, but it can also be argued that she just gave her a life estate.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Quinny. All right, so there are 2 ways of reading this will. Number 1, life estate, right? Rhea, you here? Oh, you're here. You spoke earlier. So, Rhea, let me ask you a question, please. If this is the conveyance of a life estate, what is the future interest that follows a life estate? What do we call that future interest?
A remainder if it goes to a third party.
Who is that third party?
I figure it would be Miss Evelyn's heirs.
Well, I asked that question before to Quinny. Do you think Jessie intended it to go to Evelyn's heirs?
No, I don't.
Whose heirs then? I'd go to someone.
Maybe Sandra's, or maybe her heirs, like her other.
Who's her? Don't say her. Say names.
Oh, Miss Jessie's heirs.
Jessie's
like
heirs.
Collaterals.
Okay. Now I'm on the right track. So you think what happens is Evelyn gets to live there for her life, and then after Evelyn dies, it goes to Jesse's heirs.
Yes.
So how would you describe the future interest there?
Well, that would still go to a third party, so I would still say it's a remainder.
Okay, excellent. So we would say that Evelyn has a life estate, and then Jesse's heirs have a remainder in fee simple. So let me just type this out. From Jesse to Evelyn for life, then to Jesse's heirs. How's that? How's that look? Oh, good? Okay. So thank you, Aria. So from Jesse to Evelyn for life, then to Jesse's heirs. That would mean Jesse's a life estate. I'm sorry, Evelyn has a life estate, followed by remainder and fee simple to Jesse's heirs. Evelyn was a sister-in-law, not related by blood. Therefore, she can't be an heir. Only the blood relatives, the collateral, are heirs. Okay, that's option number one. That's one way of reading the statute, reading the will. Ray, are you here? Ray? No. Linda, are you here? I see you, Linda. I don't hear you, but I see you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Linda. Linda, what's the other way of reading this will? So option number one is the life estate. What's option number two?
Option number 2 would be that Jesse, or not Jesse, Evelyn had it in fee simple.
Fee simple. Why would it be in fee simple?
Because she'd be giving her the bundle of sticks, the current or the present interest to live in the house, and then passing it on to her heirs.
So so basically, let me write it this way, right? From Jesse to Evelyn, and her heirs. Like that? From Jesse to Evelyn and her heirs?
Yes.
Okay, so that estate would give Evelyn a fee simple. Could Evelyn sell it?
Then Evelyn could sell it.
Could she leave it to her heirs?
Yes.
But what's the problem with this conveyance? What did Jesse say in her will that makes this one hard to swallow?
Jesse said her house was not to be sold.
She said it twice, didn't she? And she underlined it.
And
Underlined it. So what does the Tennessee Supreme Court do here, Linda? They do something very strange.
The Supreme Court. Let me pull that up in my notes. Well, the Supreme Court reversed or they reversed the trial court.
That's right.
Saying that it was a life estate, or saying that it was a fee simple. So that. No, sorry, I got that mixed up. Might be. The Supreme Court held that Evelyn had it in fee simple, and that the restraint on the alienation, the sellability, was invalid.
Okay, that's very good. Let me move on. Alexandra, now you're here. So Alexandra, let me ask you a question, right? We have this very strange concept, right? Usually we think of a fee simple as like this fee simple absolute. You can do whatever you want. The entire bundle of sticks. How can you have a fee simple with a restraint on sale, or what's called a restraint on alienation? You can't alienate it, you can't sell it, right? How can you have, Alexander, a fee simple that you can't sell? That doesn't even make any sense. How's it even a thing?
Right. And so the dissent kind of deals with that, where the Supreme Court says, like, we'll just ignore and void the part about not being able to sell it because it affects alienability, and that isn't a fee simple because she should have absolute control.
Yeah. So, Alexander, how does public policy play into this analysis?
So the Supreme Court, the majority says we prefer it to go, we prefer absolute. We don't want questions. If there's two conveyances of the will, we want the one that's going to be, for sure not something that has loose ends.
Okay, I like the loose ends. That's very good. I like the way you phrase it. Thanks, Alexander. So what the court does here is kind of strange. Let me just walk you through it one step at a time. First, the court says we prefer conveyances that transfer the entire estate. So if we have a choice between reading it as a fee simple and reading as a life estate, we prefer the fee simple. Why? You get the full bundle of sticks. There's no remainder floating around. We know what happens. But the problem is this fee simple has a restraint on sale. And the court says a restraint on sale is contrary to public policy. This is this phrase, which I'm sure you remember from torts or contracts, right? Right, where something goes against public policy, the court just ignore it. Think of like an unconscionable contract, if that the conscionability, if that rings a bell. So what does the court do? They get their blue pencil and they just strike out the sentence that says, my house is not to be sold. Imagine that a judge just takes a pencil and just says, whoop, strike it out, right? They just void it. They just cross it out. My house is not to be sold. And what they are left with is just a fee simple conveyance. Evelyn has a fee simple absolute. She can do whatever she wants with it. The dissent, which I think Alexander mentioned, is like, what the hell? This is a life estate, right? Mrs. Jesse wanted Evelyn to live in the house for her life, and it goes to her heirs. Goes to Jesse's heirs. This is not hard. I actually find the dissent more persuasive. I don't know about you all, but I always, whenever I teach this case, I'm like, yeah, the majority screwed this one up, right? This is a life estate. This is obviously what Jesse intended, but they have to jump through these hoops, saying, well, it's not life estate; it's a fee simple. But then we strike out the limitation, so we have a fee simple absolute, which just seems insane. Like it seemed they jumped through so many hoops when the clear answer is Evelyn had a life estate. I don't know. Alexander, go ahead.
It felt like there was a simple answer to this, which is just like the collateral, right, of like, Evelyn's daughter would get it anyways because she's Jesse's niece.
No. Well, Sandra would, but there are other nieces and nephews to share it with.
Okay.
Let me just repeat. Sandra, the executrix, was the bloodline. She was a niece, right? She was the niece of Jesse. But there were other nieces and nephews. For example, who the hell's Brown, right? Why is this case White v. Brown? Was it Henry Brown or Harry Brown? I can't remember his name. I'm sorry, Helen. I know it was an H. Helen Brown. So there were other nieces and nephews. So Sandra wouldn't get it by herself. She has to split it with her relatives. If Evelyn had a fee simple, she could just give it to Evelyn.
Right.
And just give it to Sandra. Just give it to Sandra, her daughter. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that, Alexander. So everyone get the upshot, right? The court says we can read this as a life estate or a fee simple. We prefer a fee simple, but we don't want to have this restraint. So we'll just take our blue pencil and cross it out and give it a fee simple absolute. Very weird case. I don't like it, but that's the case we have. Okay, back up top. Nicholas, are you here?
I am.
Nicholas, Alyssa, go ahead, please.
So if I had looked at that will, to me it wouldn't have seemed ambiguous because the phrasing is so similar to for life.
Yeah, isn't it?
So how, I guess in order to make it more clear so it wouldn't have been ambiguous, she should have said for life.
Look, she's not a lawyer. She doesn't know these things. She wrote it by hand, so that's a lot to ask her. I think this will is pretty clear in my mind.
So is this something that we need to apply? Like, do we need to apply the rule that the majority came to in this case?
I think this is the case where the majority and the dissent both make compelling points. I'd be okay with either answer. I think the dissent's better in this one, but your mileage may vary.
Okay, got you. Thanks.
All right, Nicholas, let me ask you this question, Nicholas. Nicholas, do you think Miss Jessie trusted Evelyn?
I don't think so, no.
How do we know that?
Well, for one, I think it would be much more concrete, and she would have just said, this is the way it is, and get this thing.
What estate would Jessie have given Evelyn if she trusted her? If Jessie trusted Evelyn, what would she have gotten?
Fee simple or
estate? Yeah, fee simple. Yeah. So let me make a point. Valentine's Day was last week, or 2 weeks ago. I'll make it now. If you love someone, if you trust someone, give them a fee simple. Don't give them a life estate. right? If you love someone, if you trust someone, don't say it with diamonds. Say it with a life estate, right? No, I screwed up. If you love someone, don't say it with the life estate. Say it with the fee simple, because that means you trust them, right? You trust their judgment. Jesse didn't trust Evelyn. She's like, "Oh, this girl's going to sell my land as soon as I die. I'm not giving it to her. She can live in it, but she can't sell it. I want my nieces and nephews to get the land when I die." So, if you trust someone, if you love someone, you give them a fee simple. In our next case, this is a sad case. I always get sad reading. Isn't it sad, this case? This poor woman's basically stuck to the land. You have John, who gives his beloved wife, Anna, who's almost 40 years his junior, a life estate. His beloved wife, Anna. Did he love her? Did he trust her? Not really, because he gave her only a life estate. And he gave her a very particular conveyance, and I've rewritten it so that it's a little bit easier to follow. I'll put it in the chat. But what John said was, I give Anna a life estate. And if Anna has children, upon Anna's death, it goes to Anna's children. But if Anna dies childless, Anna dies without children, the land goes to the land goes to John's grandchildren. Someone laughing? Was that funny? Everyone with me? Okay. What do we do with this? Right? John didn't really trust Anna that much. And he only gave her a life estate. And the problem is when you have a life estate, it's not very valuable. No one wants to buy it from you. Why? Because as soon as Anna dies, it goes to the grandchildren. Right? Anna's in her 70s. No one expects her to have a kid. It's funny, though. The courts actually presume that people can have children at any age. Even a woman in her 80s can have children. It's called, don't get grossed out, the fertile octogenarian. We presume at any age a person can have a child, the fertile octogenarian. And don't get disturbed the other way. A person can have a child no matter how young they are. This phrase probably should be canceled, but it's called the precocious toddler, which is just depraved. But we presume at any age a person can have a child. You'll learn why later. But even Anna in her 70s can have kids. But realistically speaking, she's not having kids. So in this case, the grandkids had a dilemma. They were just waiting for this woman to die so they can inherit this valuable property. Right? But Anna didn't want to wait that long. Right? So Anna goes to court and she says, please let me sell this property. And the trial court says yes. But this was an error. Because by letting Anna sell the property now, you're terminating the future interest. The grandkids had a remainder, which followed Anna's life estate, right? The grandkids had a remainder. And by allowing a sale, you're terminating this valuable future interest, this remainder. And the Supreme Court says, no, you cannot terminate that interest. It's unfair to the grandkids. It might be fair to Anna, the old lady, but it's not fair to the grandkids. And you have to consider both parties' interests. So the upshot of this case is when you have someone basically tied to the land through a life estate and they can't sell it, they're stuck. Because these grandchildren are just sort of floating around. Think of like a cloud, right? The grandkids are just a cloud waiting for this woman to die. Or maybe say differently. Remember like a vulture in the desert kind of just circling over someone before they die? The grandkids are just waiting to die for Anna to die. As it turned out, Anna outlived two of them. And eventually when Anna died, the third grandkid inherited the farm in fee simple. But it didn't happen until the 1990s. Alyssa, go ahead.
So I may have misunderstood, but when John gave Anna the life estate, even if she sold the property when Anna died, it would still go, the ownership would still go to Anna's children and their heirs, right?
If she had children.
Right.
If she had no children, where would it go?
Back to John's estate.
No, not to John's estate. It was something very specific.
Sorry, John's grandchildren.
That's correct. That's correct. It goes to the grandchildren. Basically, the grandkids are waiting for Anna to die. Because at that point, Anna was in her 60s or 70s. She wasn't having more kids, right? So they knew the second she dies, it goes to the grandkids. That makes sense, Alyssa?
Right. So even if, but I guess I just don't get why, like, allowing her to sell was such a big deal, because even if she, like, sold it, the ownership would still go to John's grandchildren.
No. If she sold it, it's gone. There is nothing going to the grandkids. She sold it. The property belongs to someone else. The idea of the forced sale is you basically ignore the present and future interests. You just put up for auction and you divide up the proceeds. All the future and present interests are exterminated. In other words, you destroy the life estate and you destroy the remainder. You simply sell it outright and someone buys it fee simple.
Okay, and only the court is allowed to.
Yes, the court can basically order a sale. And what a sale, and I think I'm out of time, you can put your minute poll in if you need to leave. What the sale does is it terminates the present and future interests and lets someone buy it in fee simple.
Got you. So if the court had not done that, the only thing she could have done was give someone the life estate purata v.
Yep, exactly right.
Okay.
That's all she can give. That's all she has. That's all I have to give, right? That's all Miss Anna could give.
Okay. Thanks.
Grayson, was your hand up?
I just wanted to point out, like, basically the then to John's grandchildren and their heirs is essentially a reversion, but he's dead. So
don't say it's a reversion. It's not a reversion. It's a remainder. It files a life estate to a third party. It's not a reversion. Don't call it that.
Okay.
It's a future interest that files a life estate that goes to a third party with a remainder. All right, let me summarize a bit. Thank you, Grayson, for that. We have our two present interests, the life estate and the fee simple. And we have our two future interests. We have the remainder and the reversion. After a fee simple, we don't really have anything, right? Because the person of fee simple can decide what happens. But after life estate, you can have either remainder or reversion. With the remainder, the future interest goes to a third party after life estate. And with the reversion, the future interest goes back to the grantor. In the case of death, right, with a will, it's almost always going to be a remainder because the grantor is dead, right? The grantor is dead. It doesn't go back to him. So it's almost always going to be a remainder. There might be some quirky cases where it's reversion, but I wouldn't worry about those for now. All right. Other questions on today's lesson? All right. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll have office hours at 2:45. Otherwise, I'll see you all on Wednesday. Take care.